stop giving homeless people things that fit within your realm. So I know, like, my grandma says never give homeless people money, and I'm like, why? And she's like, because they'll use it on drugs and alcohol. And I'm like, I don't know however many people are watching this, when you've had a shit week at work, when you've had a broken argument with your boyfriend, what do you do? Have a glass of wine? So why are you judging a homeless person for doing it? They're living on the street. And I used to help out in Nottingham in this weekly homelessness shelter. And I said to one of the guys, like, why do you take drugs? Like, I can't remember what it was called. It was one of them that just passes you out. And I was like, why do you do it? And he was like, have you tried living on the street? And I was like, no. And he was like, try doing it for one night for me. He was like, it's so cold. This helps me feel warm. He's like, I don't want to do it. But tell me how I'm going to survive. And I was like, you know, so many of us drink, smoke, take drugs, smoke weed to calm ourselves down after a bad week. Why are we judging homeless people for doing it?
Stepping someone else's shoes.
Right. No, just take it for yourself. Have a bad day and don't go drink a glass of wine. Have a bad day and don't smoke some weed. Whatever you want to do. Like, everyone does everything. But when you see a homeless person doing it, you're like, oh, no, I'm only going to give you £1 to buy a Greggs sausage roll. And if you use that £1 towards drugs or cigarettes, like, you're a bad person and you're wasting my money. Well, no. Like, if you're going to give something, give it. Don't have any expectation on it.
Just the other day, I was driving back from a gig that I was doing, and there was a guy who knocked on my window. He put out his hand. I gave him £5. I don't know what he's going to spend it on. Honestly, I don't really care. Like, I can't imagine how hard it is to be in that situation, because I was freezing in my car with the heater on, and he's out there in the cold with a crutch, like an old man. I don't like seeing people like that, so I'm not going to turn them away.
Yeah, exactly. And someone said to me before, because a lot of people have this mindset of they don't want to give money to homeless people because they're going to use it for drugs or alcohol. And it's like, well, if they're homeless on the streets and they've got nothing else to live for and that makes them happy or that brings them joy, then why not? Do you know what I'm saying? Who are you to say what they should and shouldn't spend their money on or how they should live when they're going through such a hard time?
Yeah, I had a friend where I remember distinctly that I saw this homeless person. I have a really hard time walking past homeless people and not giving them anything. I saw this homeless guy on the way home, and I was walking over to an ATM, and they knew that what I was about to do, and they tried to grab me and pull me away from the ATM and said, no, we're not giving them anything. And I said, why? And it was exactly that. They're going to buy drugs or alcohol. And I was just thinking to myself, we're literally on the way to a club to basically sedate ourselves, and then we have the luxury of going home to a house. Like, why can't I give them some money if it's going to make them happy?
I just don't know why people have this mindset of just because they're homeless they have to spend their money on food. Like, ideally
I would like to be in a position where I can create something to help them long term, but I'm not. And if a homeless person is there and I have some money, like, if you're ever out with me or if you ever see me with people, I find it hard to walk past homeless people. I find it extremely difficult. I hate seeing people in situations like that, especially when the government rob us blind and we don't even know what they do with our money. They give MPs and people in parliament pay rises out of the blue for whatever reason. We know most of these idiots tax evade, and yet we've got loads of people in our country just living out in the cold, living under bridges and behind bins and stuff. So yeah, if I've got any money in my wallet, or because people don't really carry cash anymore, that's the problem.
That is the problem. There's been so many times where people have asked me for money, and there's been times where I would have wanted to or would have loved to have given it to them, but I haven't had cash on me because we are just pretty much becoming a cashless society, so it is difficult.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about homeless people because I've always carried cash on me, but because now everything is digital, you never have money on you, and sometimes there's not an ATM nearby. If there's an ATM nearby and I can get to it and I've got money, I'll 100% give them money. If I don't have money, sometimes I've given the coat off my back, literally. I went to a Jamaican restaurant with my mum and the whole family, and it was snowing, and there was some guy sleeping in like the gap between Tesco's and some bins. He was there shivering, and I gave him my coat because I didn't have any money to give him. But do you know what pisses me off the most? It's the people that record it.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you recording yourself doing a good deed like that? Do you really think the homeless person wants the whole world to know their situation?
Aside from that, because I don't think the homeless person probably gives that's probably the least of their worries. They probably don't give a shit. But it's like, you're not doing that out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it for attention and views or praise. You should be able to just do stuff like that and go about your day. Do you know what I mean? You don't even need to tell the world. Yeah. Like, sometimes I do good deeds and I'm like, do you know what? I felt good.
Yeah. I mean, or near enough, anytime that I'm in London, I will give something to a homeless person, but you won't hear me talking about it. We're only talking about it now because of the topic. I just don't get people that film themselves doing it. I've heard the argument that if they film themselves doing it, it will encourage other people to want to do it.
Do you know what?
That argument kind of doesn't make much sense to me. You should just want to help someone.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I remember one time it really upset me because I saw this old dude, and he looked like my dad, and he was lying on the floor in Liverpool Street, and I had no money on me, and the only ATM was back at the train station. You did what? You spilt your drink. Anyway, I will tell the story while she's cleaning. So I went all the way back to the ATM to give him money. I didn't just want to give him money because he looks really distressed. So I sat down and I spoke to him and I asked him how he got into the situation and where his family was. And I imagine that having human interaction is important for them as well, because people walk past him all the time.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's loads of homeless people I've walked past, whether it's because I'm rushing for a train or I'm late for work or whatever. But I do think people should make more of an effort if they're if they have the means to do it, and not judge them when they do it. Not be like, I'm going to buy you McDonald's and not give you £1 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it depends though. It depends on the sort of person, because me, if I was miserable as fuck, I wouldn't want anyone to talk to me.
You say that now,
and
but
I'd hate the world.
Imagine you ain't had no human interaction. Yeah. You see people enjoying themselves, especially this time of the year where people like taking their own lives skyrockets because of loneliness and like not having enough money to pay whatever. When I used to work for this company, I won't say their name, they would say that every year they would have a couple of people that were jumping off the bridge near embankment. Like, a lot of them were homeless people, and they just couldn't take the cold and not having anyone there and seeing people with their family. And so I can imagine being homeless and not having anyone even acknowledge you exist. You would crave that human interaction. It's one thing to say it now when we have a roof over our head, we all have each other, and this is a time of year where everyone comes together, but those people are stuck out there and it's freezing. It's cold in here. Imagine being out there you're wearing the same things, you haven't showered, like you don't really get a break. You don't get to go into anywhere that's warm. It sucks.
Where my uni was, you would come out of the train station and the uni was like opposite, right? And then a bit further up the road was a McDonald's. And right outside the train station was the same homeless guy you would see every day. And then on your way up to McDonald's, there's like a few others as well. So there was quite a lot around there. One time I walked past them all when I was going to McDonald's to get some lunch before starting uni. And after walking past all of them, I just felt really sad. But I didn't have any money, like cash, to give them. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy them all some McDonald's. So I went McDonald's, I got some for all three of them. And I walked back and I went to the first one, tried to give them the McDonald's, and they was like, no, I don't like McDonald's. I was like, okay. I went
they said they don't like it.
Yeah, they said they don't like McDonald's.
Wow.
I went to the next one and they was like, no, thank you. And then I went to the last one and he said no as well. And I was just a bit like, wow. Like, I just bought 3 loads of McDonald's and not one of them wanted it. But I can't judge them for not wanting it. I can't expect them to just take it because they're homeless. But I was a bit like, oh.
They might have already eaten. It might not. They might just be looking for money to go and sedate themselves because it is rough out there. Like, that's happened to me before where they've turned down food. And I don't get offended because I don't know what their situation is.
But also as well, if you think about it, if you go like a couple of days without eating, your hunger sort of goes and you just don't really feel hungry and you just feel a bit sick and stuff. Maybe that's the way they're feeling because they don't eat as much. So maybe they're just like...
How many days have you gone without eating?
Well, just the past week, I literally went 2 days without eating.
You went 48 hours without putting food in your mouth?
I had a pot noodle and literally that was it.
Why?
I don't know, like I think the first day I was just really miserable, so I didn't eat. And then from where I'd gone so long without eating, the next day I felt so sick I couldn't eat anything. So I just went the whole day without eating again. And then the next day after that, I felt just literally like I was dying. So then I had to just ease myself back into it. So I just had some soup and then eventually I started getting my appetite back. But because I went so long without eating, I just felt sick and the thought of food made me feel even more sick.
That's mad to me. If I go without eating, like, I don't get me wrong, I've gone 24 hours without eating, but the longer I don't eat, the more I want the food. There doesn't ever get a point where I feel sick that I don't want to eat the food. I'll feel worse if I don't. Like, the idea, I remember it was about 36 hours or something. I was on a hike and we'd gone a long time without eating because the moron that I was with packed food into a bag that had a hole at the bottom. Oh. So the food was just all over the place. We didn't even know where it was and we couldn't backtrack. So I'm not going to say his name, but you know exactly who you are, bro. You almost killed us.
That was the biggest L ever.
Yeah, I should have killed him, really, for him doing that. But
Like if you was in like one of them zombie apocalypses or life or death situation and the one person let the whole team down.
Yeah, but I think it was like 36 hours that we'd gone without eating. And when we finally made it to where we were headed, there was a restaurant at the top of that place. And I just remember biting into that burger and it felt like my gums were bleeding. Like, you know, when you bite something so succulent and juicy and it's been a while and you eat too quickly.
Yeah.
Like all your taste buds or whatever, they're overindulging. I felt like my mouth was going to explode, but I couldn't stop chewing.
Pause.
So I don't get that feeling where you feel sick after not eating. But anyway, like, yeah, the whole homeless thing.
Digress majorly.
Yeah, I do feel sorry for them, and I don't judge them.
Yeah.
I don't judge them. And next time somebody tries to stop me from giving them money when I'm out, you right in the face.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
So we need to get Midnight Rubbish to blow so that me and Michael can start up something and get all the homeless people off the streets.
I don't know if we're going to get them all off the streets. Let's be honest.
Not all of them, but there's a lot of people that can be helped, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are in situations where they can really help homeless people and they're not.
Yeah, maybe we should think of something and put it together to help people. The Midnight Charity.
I think this December we should go and just give them all like goodie bags with loads of...
Goodie bags?
Yeah, like stuff with like maybe some blankets in it.
Yeah.
Period pads. Deodorant.
Period pads.
Think of these women who are homeless and have periods.
Yeah, fair enough. I've only ever met one homeless woman before in my entire life. But I'm sure they're out there.
Water. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of stuff we can just put in a bag and just go and hand out to loads of them.
Yeah, I did do that once with my mum a long time ago. And some of the encounters were a little bit dangerous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of them don't want you bothering them. Like, I remember there was one guy, he was big. I walked over to him with a sausage roll and some water and some snacks. He got angry and I was like, this dude's big, might stomp on me. So you need to be careful when you're just going about. Also, like, it's not to paint homeless people with the same brush, but there are some that can get violent and try to rob you. Again, I understand, like, they want what you've got because they ain't got nothing. So I think it's a little bit...
They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, you got to think it through a bit more before you start going and doing those things. But it's definitely something we can look into. I would be more than happy to do something like that when the time comes. I ain't got anything else to say.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
When the time comes.
Yeah, when we can't just go out into the cold and start giving people food, can we?
Why not?
Because I just told you. What if one of them grabs you and like throws you into a fucking bin?
You'll be like, yeah, do it again.
Yeah, I'll be out. You'll be head first in the bin with your feet in the air. I'll be in my car.